the future, huh? An interesting concept. Some think about it a lot, others try not to. Either way, no one truly knows what it might bring. Many have tried to predict it, only a few were ever successful, and still, it's exactly that unknown, probably the biggest of all unknowns that scares so many of us to death.
So worried about this trip. I guess that's because I know almost nothing about it. I don't know who I'll get along with, what school gonna look like. I don't know anything. The only thing I do know is that I will figure it out. But though usually this would put me at ease, not this time for some reason. I don't know why. I wish I could be as optimistic and hopeful as I used to be, but now I just wake up and my heart is pounding like never before.
This was my journal entry a couple of days before I was about to leave to Porto for this half-year journey, and I find it funny how elaborate our minds can be with the negative scenarios. Everything's gonna go wrong, I'm not gonna make any friends, I'll have no time for myself. But guess what? None of it came true. And I know it's a cliche to say, I know that every one of you watching knows that 80 to 90% of all our worries never come to fruition. But did you ever care to think why that is? You see, my theory is that we humans are so much more capable than we give ourselves credit for. Up till this point, you have 100% success rate of figuring it out. 100%. You've made it to today, and we have a tendency to diminish such accomplishments, but if you think about it, the odds of that happening are nothing but against you. And man, I get that you're worried. I really do. After all, we are the end of the world generation, huh? But how many of these ends of the world have we already survived? 2012, COVID, all of those wars going on. Don't you think that this changes the perspective a little? Being proud of the fact that you're actually alive today? And if you're not, here's an exercise that you might find helpful. I call it undeniable proof. Write down all of your undeniable accomplishments in life. Everything you can think of. In Excel, Notion, a notebook, whatever works. Just write down everything. I bet there is more than you can give yourself credit for. And then in the times of fear or worry, just go through these. Remind yourself that you've actually made a lot happen in your life. You see, I think a lot of our worry comes from comparison. We see all of the people around us who have figured it out and we feel behind. And then we're paralyzed about making a move because we don't want to fall even more behind than we already are. At least that's the fear that I'm experiencing most often. Well, if there's one thing that I've learned from all the successful people that I met last year is that no one has got it figured out. Nobody. We're all here for the very first time and we're all just experimenting and seeing what works. And I know a lot of you guys watching want to build something for yourselves. I know you want to live your best lives. I certainly do. But if you stop and think about it, what does that actually even mean, best life? And forgive me for saying this, but I feel like sometimes we're putting a little bit too much pressure on ourselves. And if you're in your 20s like me, I mean, bro, what are we even talking about? Even TikTok is trying to put our worries into perspective. And I know sometimes it's difficult to imagine, but if you put things into the big picture, most of the things don't even matter that much. Some strangers are gonna live in our house in 100 years and you're gonna be fertilizing the ground. It's just the truth. So if nothing really matters, why don't we change how we look at fear a little bit? Let's change our focus from fear to excitement. That's what the spirit of the quest is about, isn't it? Figuring it out, thinking of obstacles as challenges. And of course, some obstacles are scary. I'm not here to dismiss that. But I want to tell you, exciting always has a little scary in it. Now, I'm not going to tell you that all's going to be good and wonderful. I can't. The truth is, nothing worthwhile ever comes easy. There's definitely going to be difficulties, and there's probably going to be pain, sadness, and loss. But every great adventure has its valleys. Every good story has its conflict. And most of the time, the difference between fear and excitement is just your perspective. a matter of mindset, a choice. At least that's what I'd like to hear now, in a moment where my life is about to change greatly yet again. And I'm very worried, because the truth is, I haven't got this figured out. I probably never will. But what I can do is enjoy the ride and keep doing my best. Nothing more. But if fear still doesn't leave you after this corny monologue, here are some practical questions that you can ask yourself to put things into perspective. What's the worst thing that could happen? The worst scenario? What can go wrong? How far will these setbacks set me back? How can I prevent these from happening, or at least lower the likelihood? If the worst comes to happen, how can I get back on track? Can I recover? And finally, what are the benefits of taking action? And what is the cost of inaction? So, my friend, fear is nothing but natural. I experience it, you do, everyone does. Some just choose to embrace it, whilst others run away. Which one are you gonna be? The future remains unknown. It probably always will. And it might be scary at times, but it's also a blank canvas for us to paint our most exciting and wonderful adventures. Life is just too short to worry about what might never happen, but it's also long enough to make things happen, to take risks, to fail. It's all part of the plot, after all, isn't it?